Hey guys, how are we doing? Crypto Insight UK here, bringing you back another video. So, if you watch my channel a lot, you'll recognize, or look at my channel on Twitter, etc., you'll recognize these paths that I drew when we were at this level here. I showed you because of what the open interest levels were. I said, look, this is what I think is going to happen. We'll probably lose this level and then we'll break down. So we did lose the level, but yet we're back up in this box that has been previously a reactionary level. I'm just going to look literally at the open interest at the bottom and compare that to the chart above. To start with, we are looking here every single time we've been up in this zone. Look, we've pulled back. We've been up in this zone, spent some time up there, pulled back, both on open interest and in price action. Been up in this zone again, here, pulled back, makes a high, hits the zone, pulls back. Now it makes a high. It's had a tiny pullback and it's looking to hit that zone again. And I do think for these reasons, guys, that we are going to pull back. When exactly that might happen, I don't know. But one thing I did highlight is in the short term, one of the reasons I said we could go higher, like let's say towards 70, 71K before that pullback, is because on the 4 hourly, we've had these bounces on the RSI when it's got down towards these oversold areas, and every single time we've got near the oversold, the RSI has taken a bounce, and it looks like that trend continued to ring true. However, price is still about to touch those areas of interest in terms of open interest that I've been discussing with you guys. Now, to further onto that point, if we look on the hourly time frame at our liquidity pools, I don't know why this chart always does this when I'm trying to look at it. We can see we've got some dense liquidity above us here at around $70,000 for Bitcoin. So could we be pushing into this range first before then potentially reversing? You can see that a lot of this run is driven by open interest or leverage, as we've seen a significant spike in open interest. And if I take us to the daily time frame, it can paint a bit of a larger picture for us here, so we can have a bit more understanding. Let me get rid of this possible sign. And this is why, though, guys, and I know you people who watch my YouTube will take my thoughts into consideration, but this is why I am cautious, because we do have a lot of open interest down below us here at the 48 sort of thousand level. But again, we have all this up here at 75K. So there is a chance once we start wicking out this liquidity that we get a bit of a short squeeze to push us up into this liquidity. And that's when I say, you can leave liquidity behind below us and then continue that push, almost like a self-perpetuating cycle of squeezing shorts and continuing higher. But I do think, especially coming into the election time, we will have some volatility. Exactly when and how that looks, I don't know. But let's listen to Tony Greer, who I had on the podcast over on YouTube. I also posted that on Twitter as well. Let's listen to what he thinks going into election, or actually in this specific video, he talks about this specific clip. Sorry, he talks about the Fed, and this kind of brings a piece to my puzzle. As you guys know, I've been saying that gold's been rallying, the S&P's been rallying, the DXY has even been rallying, but I didn't know why we weren't seeing a rotation into crypto. One thing I've said for a long time is that when we start to get a rotation, when we get to confirmation that monetary policy is going to be more loose and money is going to be cheaper, essentially, then we should see a rotation from fixed assets like gold into the fastest horse, or the one that is the best performer in an inflationary period like Bitcoin. And he explains that maybe the Fed have made a mistake, and this could, or they might announce they've made a mistake, and this would actually go quite well with my thesis as to why maybe we are not seeing that rotation to Bitcoin yet, because people are still concerned that the Fed might come and change policy or do something different they've not done before because of how strong the economy is, for example. Let me just let Tony explain this to you, because he explains it better than I, but here we go.
Is bonds, right? And I think that with rates falling, I think it's kind of reads. I think we're reading into a potential for a Fed policy error, right? So they did a great job manhandling inflation. They got it from headline 9% down to 3%, right? Hiked rates. They literally almost put the genie back in the bottle, and we get to this period where we had this big growth scare with weak economic data, and the whole posture shifted toward the next easing cycle, right? And at its peak, there were going to be 9 rate cuts next year, 50 basis point cut as the first one. And that seemed really excessive. But what happened coincidentally, just as we pivoted into the Fed's rate cut cycle, the economic data started getting better.
Pick back up again.
Right? City Economic Surprises Index has gone from minus 40 to plus 20 in like 3 or 4 weeks time, and that's just the data being incrementally better than expected. Remember, we got that crazy payroll number, then we got the beat in retail sales. The data is lining up for the Fed to be easing at the wrong time. Right? So that put through an absolute wrench in the bond market, where treasuries traded off really sharply. Yields in the 10-year, twos are right back to above 4%. Break evens, 5-year break evens rallied 50 basis points, like from 1.8% to 2.3%. And the market got this inflation buzz back, right? And if you remember in 2022, the risk to that market was headline inflation dislocating the bond market lower, right? Because the bond market's going to respond to that and back off with headline inflation. Rates are going to go up. Everybody buys commodities, right? Oh, okay, inflationary cycle. We're going to buy commodities now. We're going to sell tech. And that was the 2022 trade, right? So you have to consider that there's a chance that that reemerges somehow. But then, like you say, there's so much abundant liquidity that we're still playing an all-time high breakout in NVIDIA right here, right? $141 at last sale. It doesn't look like anything's curling over in the stock market to me. So, and now that we've got the data improving, we're in a situation where the market is reacting to that with emotion. When the data is better, it's celebratory, right? It's like, oh, we're coming out of this growth scare. This is better. Companies doing better. Earnings better, right? S&P can rally. And when the data is worse, it's like, oh, God, the Fed's going to have to cut more. They're going to have to cut more, cut more, cut more. And, then there's a little bit of push and pull the other way. But I think that kind of helps balance out a little bit the idea of kind of what's going on.
So what he's basically saying is people now are thinking about how the Fed might actually change their policy because they were a bit fast jumping the gun, and that might be why people still aren't completely rotating into Bitcoin yet. But once we get more of confirmation, he feels similar to me that Bitcoin would then explode high. But it's a bit weird that there's a lot of liquidity, equity is still doing well, but for example, for now, Bitcoin's not doing as well as it should be. But maybe it's just lagging, and that's one of the things we discussed. So just to finish, I know you guys are sick of listening to XRP memes. I want to give you a quick thesis, and I'm going to literally just sum up the first paragraph of what I was talking about here. I say, do you think that Tron as a ledger is 10 times stronger and more popular than the XRP ledger? Do you think Sol is 100 to 400 times more popular than the XRP ledger? If you think no to any of these answers, then that's the difference between our market cap for meme coins and theirs. So I'm not saying anything's going to do a 100,000 million X. What I am saying is if you think if you think our community is as strong as Trons or close to as strong as Solana's, then there is a outsized risk to reward in buying some meme coins on the XRP ledger at this point. Hope you guys understand, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please do share it with a friend. Check out our weekly newsletter where I deep dive into more of the macro that me and Tony Greer discussed in last week's podcast. As I said, if you enjoyed, please do share, drop a subscribe and a comment below if you've got any questions. Peace up, A-Town down, as Crypto Insight UK would say.